Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today, I'll be going through all 20 current 1-star legendary gems available as of now and ranking them in a tier list. It's important to note that this will be my personal opinion based on my own testing with these gems, and it's not a definitive ranking. Different players may have completely different tier lists, and I respect all opinions. This video might get a bit lengthy since we have 20 gems to rank. If you're looking for information on a specific gem and my opinion about it, you can easily navigate through the video using the timestamps provided. Now that the introduction is out of the way, let's start with our first 1-star gem, Everlasting Torment. While it might not provide the highest damage output, it pairs exceptionally well with damage over time based builds, giving us the bleeding effect, and set pieces like Banquet of Eyes and Grace of the Flagellant work great with it. Additionally, it can trigger bonuses from other powerful gems like Pain Clasp and Eye of the Unyielding. So, as I mentioned, it might not offer the most damage directly, but it provides other benefits that complement our builds. Therefore, I'll place it in the S tier list. Next up, we have Chain Death. This gem works relatively well with damage over time based builds for open world farming, challenge rifts, or even dungeons. But it lacks maximum damage buff against single targets, and isn't as effective in PvP. Despite this, it's far from the worst option. For new players starting the game, it can work decently in the beginning and provide some damage. Therefore, I'll place it in the B tier. Moving on to Nightmare Wreath. This gem has a chance of causing nearby enemies to flee in fear once we kill something around them. However, this effect can only trigger every 20 seconds, rendering it somewhat useless in my opinion for both PvP and PvE. The low chance of fearing nearby enemies even after killing something diminishes its overall utility. As a result, I'll put this gem in the D tier. Our next gem is the Black Rose. For me, this falls into the C tier. You have to get attacked first, and then there's a low chance that it will trigger and immobilize your attacker's movement. In PvE, this isn't useful at all, and when it comes to PvP, there are much better options available to use in one of your sockets. So, C tier for me. Moving on to Freedom and Devotion, a strong gem for players who want to run a full summons-based setup. This setup will keep evolving as other classes get more essence with summon-based legendary essence in the future. With that, the value of this gems will likely improve in my opinion. It's a solid A tier gem and might even reach S tier in the future as all classes develop solid summon-based build setups, which are currently lacking for some classes. Now, Lowe's Focused Gaze. I wouldn't recommend anyone using charge-based skills as of making this video, as none of them are worth using and only hinder you from freely using any other skill not on cooldown. Even though this gem can speed up the charging speed and increase damage, it's not worth using in one of our gem slots when we have better options available. So, I'll place this gem into the C tier. Exigent Echo. This gem might sound good on paper for PvP, but in my opinion, it's not that effective. We need to take damage first, and for this gem, we specifically need to take critical damage from another player in PvP. Only after that, this gem will trigger and provide us with some block, which will also be Strife, meaning the gem block chance in PvP is nerfed by 70%. Therefore, I'll place this gem in the B tier, suitable for those seeking a small amount defensive-based stats. Blessed Pebble, an excellent gem. It can increase the duration of beneficial effects, helping us extend the duration of skills considered buffs. These skills are available across different classes, and some can even be modified into buff skills using legendary essence modifiers. This is a solid PvE gem for free-to-play or low spenders and is not too bad in PvP either. For me, it earns a spot in the S tier, as buff skills are some of the best currently inside of the game, and many builds are built around them. Heartstone. This gem is a much better choice compared to some of the other defensive-based gems we've discussed. It helps extend the duration of our shield-based skills, which can be important for doing harder content like gauntlet raids and challenge rifts. For some classes, it's also decent in PvP. Thus, I'll categorize this gem in the B tier. Eye of the Unyielding. A very strong gem that provides flat damage, working in a similar way to Pain Clasp. Once we apply bleed, fire, or poison to the enemy, this gem helps us deal more damage from all sources. Effective in both PvE and PvP, so it goes into the S tier for me. But do keep in mind, this gem will works better for damage over time based builds. Next is Zod Stone, and this immediately falls into the D tier. There aren't any ultimate based builds in the game for any class right now, and honestly, ultimate skills are not particularly strong. Therefore, this gem would be a waste of a slot to use. Unrefined Passage, another defensive based gem, and I'll place this in the D tier. The amount of damage it can reduce is just too low for PvP, and once Strife is applied to it, it becomes even less effective. Outside of PvP, there isn't any use for this gem in PvE. So I will not recommend anyone using this gem. Carsen's Invigoration, a solid gem for primary-based builds or a hybrid of primary and skills. It provides increased primary attack speed and primary damage, making it a reliable choice for free-to-play or low spenders. Great for PvE and decent for PvP, so it earns a spot in the A tier for me. Defiant Soul, another defensive-based gem, and again, this isn't good. It can only trigger every 20 seconds, and the effect is too low to be effective in PvP. Outside of PvP, this gem has no use. At most, it might be considered C tier. Respire Stone, yes, another defensive-based gem, and unfortunately, it also falls into the C tier. Most of these gems are meant to be used in PvP, but due to the 70% strife debuff to our gems, it renders most of them useless in PvP. Moreover, their use in PvE is lacking, as the majority of PvE content becomes easy once we reach the endgame and have the recommended combat rating for the content. Pain of Subjugation, a good gem but very situation-based. It works only against monsters or players who are under the effect of loss of control, such as chill, slow, immobilize, fear, freeze, or stun. If we can apply that to our enemy, the damage from the gem is solid, and for me, it will go into the A tier. Tickshot Gem, a great gem to extend the duration of our channeling skills, but sadly, currently, there aren't many builds that utilize channeling extensively. Therefore, this gem may not be useful for all the different builds within the same class. Still, it's a solid A tier gem, and might even get better in future as we getting more legendary essence. Berserker Eye, a mini version of Blood-Soaked Jade, this gem may not provide movement speed or reduce damage taken, but it significantly increases our damage. It's a solid gem for free-to-play players or even mid-spenders who want to unlock Awakened Power for more bonuses. So, a solid S tier gem for both PvE and PvP. Next, we have Seled's Weakening. This gem is great for open world farming, providing a solid damage boost once we kill an elite pack. However, its uses outside of that scenario are very limited and worth using it. If you're a fan of open world or tower farming, it's a somewhat B tier gem. Now for the last gem, none other than Mocking Laughter. This gem has a unique effect of its own, taunting enemies. It can be paired with other gems like Pain of Subjugation, or 5-star gems like Chip of the Stone Flesh. While it might sound good on paper, it isn't all that useful in real gameplay, and we have much better options available. So, for me, this goes into the C tier. And with that, we have ranked all 20 current 1-star gems available. Again, it's important to note that this tier list is not a fact but only my personal opinion on how I see these gems. You guys can let me know which gems you might rate differently and why. I'll see you all in my next video.